MV saying, LOL, I'm trying to think nothing, and my monologue's going, think nothing, think nothing, think nothing. It's like, that's pretty much how it goes. And I would say, MV, pay attention, because this part of you that says think nothing is also an entity that you can remove. A lot of our thinking, there are beings in our space that are causing the thinking, and we're not even aware that most of our thoughts aren't even ours. Here's the thing, when you get out of body, when you're away from this place, you're not gonna have any thinking. It's very clear. You have the knowingness. You know it all. You see it all. There's a perception, but there is no thinking. It's not like you see a planet like, oh, there's a planet. No, you see it. It's right there. Like, you don't have to think about it. It's very clear. And so, this case we have, like whatever we experienced in past with a lot of traumas, that is playing a part here because of our, everyday life triggers, whatever you have experienced from birth until this very moment, and what you have right now. A lot of these things, what people have been saying to you all the time. Your mother, like, hey, take out the trash, take out the trash, take out the trash. Or, you're not good enough, why can't you be like your brother, why can't you be like your sister? Or, hey, slowpoke, and, there's a lot of people saying things to you that will stick, that will hurt. Like, hey, cow, hey, fat guy, hey, you, fatso, and it's just gonna stick with you. It's just gonna, slap on the face, but it doesn't go away. That pain is kind of like a scar, it stays there. And their phrase, you might be doing something and 10 years later, you're in bed, like, oh, I'm just gonna relax and just chill. And their voice, that one little phrase, plays a part. And you're like, fuck, man. And just, whatever happened, there's that little thing that happened that triggers you and is gonna play itself again. It's an entity. It is an entity that has stuck with you at that moment with that specific phrase. When anything happens in our life, it's usually the physical pain or being knocked out, unconscious. So when we experience that, anything that happens in our surroundings, people saying certain phrases, even something happening in the movie, on the radio, in your surroundings, you can hear it, it can become a hypnotic command. A lot of entities stick to that energy as well. So now you have, hypnotic commands plus entities plus other things with one specific phrase that's playing in your background, like think nothing, think nothing, think nothing, or I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm stuck. I can't get out of body, I can't get out of here. Like a lot of little things, you look at that, and these repetitive things, you can't get rid of it. It's like your agreements, it's like your entities, it's like your things. And man, you can get it all out of your space. So literally, the best thing to do, from my perspective, is as you notice them again and again and again, specific phrases, specific feeling states, specific thoughts repeating again and again, you give them a little label. The being of trying not to think, like think nothing, or the entity that says think nothing. The being or the aspect that is feeling lazy, the entity that is feeling grumpy, tired, exhausted, not good enough, abandoned and triggered and not loved, or you just look at yourself and things that are not serving you, and you put a label so that you would know what you're working with. And once you have it, there are a lot of ways you can go with it. One of the things you can try doing is just imagine this little box right in front of you. And in this box, you have a cluster of entities that are trying to think nothing, think nothing, think nothing. And they're telling you a lot of things. And some entities can talk to you about thinking nothing. Some entities can tell you, hey, you're not good enough. Even your mother or your father or your siblings or anyone around you that have said something negative that kind of hurt, they are the entity. That part of them that hurt you, that is an entity. And you literally, that part that hurt you, that little entity, you put it in a box. And it's like, okay, so even for those that have a hard time quieting their mind, it's like, okay, you have a constant chatter, so can't shut the fuck up part. Always talking, non-stop thinking, and you would just go with what's going on with your thinking. Maybe you cannot get out of body, and you really want to. And a lot of people have gone through things where they have been trapped, they have been stuck, even here on Earth, and you have these repeating beliefs or repetitive phrases with, I can't get out of here, I can't become aware, I'm not awake enough. And you say certain things, but it's a command, it's a belief, it's an agreement, it's an entity. And you can literally put it all in a box, or any other shape that you like that works better for you. But for example, pick a box and you just put a lot of entities and things in there and you close them up. It's like a little gift box or whatever. Okay, you have it in the box. So what you do now is you disconnect it from yourself. Like you cut off the front and the back of the box, the top and bottom, the sides, you disconnect it, and you think about all the cores, energy ties. Like, let's say when your mother or father or someone close to you that you really care about say something that hurt you, say something that stuck, and like, ow, like, damn, I can't believe they did that. And that part that left a mark, it has an energy tied to you. It's tied up to your feeling state. So you literally have to disconnect it, like cut it off. And you can think of it as a string, as a cord, as a cable, and you pull it out of yourself, you cut them off, and you can actually use your hands to do it. You can use your visuals, you can or you just have your intention and thoughts about it, but you disconnect all of those beings, everything that you put in the box, you disconnect it from yourself fully, and then you think of this galactic vacuum. It is a vortex energy that will suck away everything that's in your space that you don't want or need. And literally this box will be taken to the galactic vacuum for transmutation. And all of these entities, everything that you don't want in your life, gone. And you're like, okay, finally, this part is done. So that would be just one part to do. It's one out of many, many techniques. And there's a lot. There's a whole lot. There's talking to them, okay, and then being in my space that is thinking, try not to think, or think nothing, think nothing, think nothing. So the being that is saying think nothing, from your perspective, what might be the problem? And you ask them a question and you stay quiet. Because some people get the answer out loud. Like they can hear them talk. They can have the thought. They can just have the knowing of like, oh, I just got the answer and I know what he said. So you can get the answer in a lot of ways. It just depends on how you're going to perceive it. But literally, as you have these entities in your space and you're talking to them and you give them the label so that you know who you're dealing with, if it's an entity causing you to have road rage, if it's an entity causing you to be exhausted or lazy, if it's an entity feeling like it's been abandoned or a part of you that's feeling abandoned, if it's a part of you that is trying not to think, feeling bad about thinking too much, can't shut the fuck up part or whatever, you give them a label so that you would know who you're dealing with because there are many beings in our space. And once you can specify and get specific ones out of there, you'll have more time to deal with whatever you want. So that's a good part. And so when you have a little label on them, you just, okay, name your thing. And, for me, example would be maybe not speaking clearly. Like I would like to speak more clearly, I think, right now. For some people, for MV, it can be that entity that's think nothing, So the entity that says think nothing, or the entity that is trying to think nothing, And so you're just addressing that. So, okay, this part of me that is saying think nothing. From your perspective, what seems to be the problem? And you ask that question specifically because if you just ask, what's the problem? They might not know about it. But from your perspective, what seems to be the problem? Well, they can talk about it and they can have a conversation. They can drink some tea and think about it and explain themselves. And they're just going to go on and on and on if they want to. But now you give them freedom to talk about stuff. Not just like it's not a torture, not like answer my fucking question. No, like they're just going to have their time talking to you. And so you become the auditor, you're the listener, you're the psychologist, so to speak. And when you talk to these beings, your thing is not to deal with them right away. You can, but you're just a listener. It's like someone who just wants to talk it out. And literally, okay, so the part of me that would like to speak more clearly, or part of me that is not speaking clearly, from your perspective, what seems to be the problem? Well, I just didn't have much time to learn. And I wish I would learn, but you're always doing something else. You give priorities to tons of other things, but not me, and I would like to take my time speaking clearly, but you just, you're always worried. There's that worried part, and there's that pissed off part, and there's this other part, okay, thanks for telling me about it. And so for this other person who's saying, there's this entity, who says think nothing, when you talk to this, ask them from your perspective, Mr. that tries to think nothing, what seems to be the problem? And it's there's a lot of the beings in your space talking all the fucking time. And I'm just trying to tell them, think nothing, talk about nothing, shut the fuck up, because I'm just trying to sit there quietly, and they're always talking, what the fuck, man? And, it can be just an entity explaining themselves. But you're like, oh, okay, so, yeah, it's just like having a loud neighbors. I understand, thanks for sharing. And all of a sudden this part's like, I got it off my chest, thanks for listening. So you just have to acknowledge these entities. They're just like us, just not as aware, not that bright, and you're there to help. Most of these beings, a lot of these entities come to us because they see us as healers. They see us as beings who are there to help. And we've always been helping people out there before coming here on Earth. And they come because they know you can help. And they think that you're going to be able to realize who they are, to see them, to help them out. And so a lot of these entities don't even try to fuck with you. It's just their beingness, their personality, their essence that you pick up automatically without being aware of it. And if you can be aware of like, oh, there's entities coming to me for help, and I'm just gonna give them a way to get out, just by giving them permission, that's all they need, and they're out. So literally, even us, like, automatically attract entities because we're helpers. Because we help people. And they're just coming for help. So anyway, a lot of ways to deal with things like that. But again, being specific, looking at what's repetitive so that you could give it a name and know what you're dealing with. And then billions of methods. Few I just mentioned. So hopefully some of it will help.